Hi all, welcome aboard Stark Imoca. It's 22nd of January, Friday morning here. You're on a Friday afternoon already maybe. And as you can see, the map is so red. And it's gonna be red on for next 12 hours at least. And it has been already almost 24 hours like that. And I just made my sailing career's most horrifying jibe on the gusts up to 45 knots and seas which are really high, heavy seas, and speeds are now up to 20 knots almost all the time, constantly, and wind is around 30-35 knots and gusting to 45. Boat is moving very violently, so it's good to have the helmet on, and the noise is also quite terrible. Maybe I can try to show you something in here, but outside, but it's a bit dangerous. As you can see, the waves are running over the boat, and some of them are collapsing on the boat's deck. So it's pretty heavy stuff, heaviest I ever have had before. Otherwise weather is nice, some squalls of course, but the sun from the blue sky time to time, but it's very cold. I'm now 57 south and my heading is straight towards Cape Horn now. I came quite south because I couldn't make the jibe earlier. So all good on board anyway, and this is kind of Friday amusement. So enjoy your Friday, enjoy your weekend, and stay tuned. See you soon again.
We found ourselves some good breeze here in the high pressure ridge. Sometimes we went 22 knots earlier. Now you see 15 knots, 12 knots of breeze, and then the breeze goes up to 19 knots sometimes. So it's not so easy to find like a deep sleep or good naps. For me, pretty much on it all the time, trimming the sails, but we have flat sea and it's almost dream conditions. All is flying, we're on the right course, and it's a good day. I think Burton did a fantastic option there in the north, managing to get on the other side of the ridge. Well done for him, I think. Let's see the next days how it pans out. We have normally for another 1.5 days this light stuff, and then Saturday we find the low pressure train. My dream is aft ballast, aft stacking, small gennaker, 2 reefs, 1 reef, something like that, and just send it home. No sail change, hopefully. Because if I stay on the fractional halyard, changing between the jib top and the small gennaker is a long, costly change. I was thinking how to avoid that, but I so much prefer sailing on the fractional halyard than on the masthead. Well, there's still plenty of way ahead. I cannot promise we stay in the podium, and I don't think it's the right moment to discuss that. We do our best. I do my best, and it's a bit of destiny also. What comes out of this? I'm sure everyone in this top group does the same, sail as good as they can, and then it will be very close. That's for sure. Stay tuned. Talk soon.
Hello Seawolves, good morning, perhaps good afternoon, or likely good evening depending on where you're watching this. I hope you have, like me here, the, well, 12-ish o'clock coffee ready. Are you ready to go? Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Oh, very nice. The coffee is very nice today. The first item of news, unfortunately, not so truly great. I'm talking, of course, about the Edmund de Rothschild Gitana 17 that is currently on its way around the world in an attempt to break the almighty Trophée de Jules Verne, going around the world in 40 days. And sadly, this morning came the news that Gitana has developed some problems with one of the rudders, with the rudder that was actually under load at that moment. And so we see that also when we look at the tracker here. Let me bring you in. Yeah, you can see that Gitana very obviously pointing in the wrong direction there, and speed wise right now they're doing actually 20 knots in the wrong direction. And the reason for that, obviously, like it's not sure that they have to abandon the race yet. We don't know the details of what exactly happened, but basically they turned the boat around so that they can put the other rudder under load, so that they can take the load completely off of the current rudder. And yeah, they're assessing the situation, seeing what is wrong. However, of course, with the fact that they needed to do this, it is very likely that there is something, you know, quite serious going on. Otherwise it seems kind of overly cautious maybe. The effect, however, is unfortunate, of course, for their lead. They had built up a pretty nice lead at the beginning of the race, so 931 nautical miles. They had already fallen back a little bit since IDEX Sport really came into its own, into its really amazing speed that it did around Antarctica the first time. And they lost about 100 miles there, so to about 885, 850. Now that is quickly going down minute to minute, with them with their lead being reduced to now 786 at the moment of me taping this. But very likely that is going to shorten a little bit more over the next few hours as they attempt to fix the Gitana. So yeah, I'm really hoping that this isn't the end of the record attempt. But yeah, it's definitely putting a cramp on their style, let's say. So once again, now, by the way, it's completely unknown what caused it. So far, no news of any UFOs or trash. Seems like it's just overpressure on the rudder. So far, no real details on it. And so hopefully tomorrow we'll have an update, and hopefully tomorrow they'll be back on their way. Like I said, they have some leeway, but at IDEX current speed, oh, how unbelievable as it might seem, if they continue on this path, you know, within a day, almost the IDEC will catch up with them. So they really have about, I would say, 20 hours or so max to fix this if they want to keep any lead at all over. Otherwise their lead is going to be very, very short, and then if anything else happens, it's going to be very hard to stay ahead of the previous record. But that is what's going on in the Jules Verne today. So more updates on that tomorrow. Then let's switch to the Vendee Globe. And yeah, it was very nice to see that all you guys liked my prediction for the end of the race and the kind of deeper analysis with the weather yesterday. So first part at least has come true. Of course, when I was talking about it, Lewis was still in 4th position, but now quickly turned around and having the full wind like we discussed yesterday, already on the other side of this kind of lower wind area. He's been able to really put the speed on, and he's now in 2nd place, but only 18.1 nautical miles away from being first against Apivia. And at this point, it seems that Lewis is still going, 24 hours of 17.8. He's going 17 knots right now. And Lewis had a 24-hour of 13.8 and is going 15.7 now. So with only 18 miles ahead, it's very likely that if Apivia doesn't find some really big speed soon, that within 10 or 12 hours or so, Lewis is going to move to the number 1 position. So far, so good for what I talked about yesterday. Other than that, the prediction is pretty much the same, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing for the next week now. But basically, the short version is, so we have this kind of road, let's say, that leads to, of course, the point where we're all trying to get to the finish. And the weather for the upcoming days is more or less going to be kind of twisting around that, while leaving that particular path in the road more or less open as they get closer. So they'll be tacking and jibing. You can kind of see it kind of nicely right between those borders that I draw. That's kind of the road there. And so likely they're going to be tacking back and forth through there and make more or less a straight line in there towards the finish. That's what's likely going to happen. And so right now, if we zoom in a little bit, we see that Lewis very much already in that area, while at the same time we see that the rest of the fleet all still a little bit in this area where they have a bit lower wind from slightly less favorable directions, while Lewis is really in a perfect downwind situation already. He has, I think, something like 19-20 knots, so really perfect foiling conditions for him, which explains why he's doing a nice average speed of 17 knots right now. So that's what's going on in the fleet. So Boris in 3rd now, so that was the one that Lewis kind of took in the main. So it was funny to see, because over in the video that started, of course, was when Boris was in 2nd position, but Lewis overcame him there today. Sorry, Boris fans, but I'm sure that the Herminator is going to come back. Then behind there we see a lot of fighting over position there. Jean Lecam now quite firmly in 8th position and Giancarlo Pedotte in 7th. And we see that, like I predicted, Damien Seguin kind of in most trouble there. He's taken a shorter route, obviously. But with the weather developing and this kind of being quite a wide area, it looks like he's going to fall behind, because he took the a path a little bit more to the east. But it seems that it's going to be probably the slower path as far as the prediction shows. Then right behind there we see one of my favorite battles right now, which of course is Maxime Sorel against Armel Tripon. And it's interesting comparing speed. So for a good while Armel was going a lot faster than Maxime, and he's now very, very close to him, obviously. But since he's getting more closer, Maxime has kind of put on some extra speed, so he's going 14.3 knots now, with Armel only going 13.5. He did have a higher 24-hour, but he seems to be slowing down a little bit now over the last 2-3 hours or so. He wasn't really faster, but at the moment he's only about 200 miles behind Maxime now. So the question of, is there still enough time maybe for Armel to get into the top 10, which would be of course amazing for him, having fallen so far behind, being one of the favorites at the start of the race. To be able to fight his way back into the top 10 would be kind of an ultimate achievement on the really cool ride that he's had since he was kind of close to Cape Horn and started to really outpace everybody for most of the time. So he's made a great comeback. If he's able to still overtake Maxime, that's not nice for Maxime, of course, but I think it would be really cool to see that happening, and I think it still can happen. So that's a cool duel to keep our eyes on. Then we see Clarisse Kramer doing very well now. Finally came out of the doldrums, so she's speeding up, with right behind her Roman Antonesio just moving into the doldrums. So he's going to have a few slow days ahead, and that makes it interesting again there, because right behind him, Jeremy Beyou really separated himself from, you remember that he was sailing very close to Ellen Rora and Arnold Bozeris as they went into the system. They were almost in the same position, but Chirel really proving his amazing reputation as a sailor, gained a lot of miles on those two, so he really found a way through that whole system that the others, I guess, didn't find. Just navigated much better. I mean, look at the difference, it's really crazy. And doing an amazing speed right now, 17.1 knots, and so for him, I think the ultimate achievement, of course, possible in this race, probably if he could still overtake Roman Atanasio, so 13th place. With the current distance, I think that's probably still possible, but it's going to be very difficult. I think Clarisse, there was for a moment a time where I said, well, maybe if all the gods are in his favor, he might be able to still get in touch with Clarisse also and maybe overtake her if the fortune smiles on him. But I think that with her getting through the doldrums now, and the doldrums seem to be getting a bit more active again now over the next few days, as you can see, and so he's going to be, I think, pretty hindered by that. As you can see, pretty big active doldrums until Monday for him to really pass through. So I don't think that that Clarisse has to worry about that, and that she is pretty, if she keeps saying like this, she's pretty confident in her 12th amazing position. But the thing between Chirel and Romain Atanasio, that's still a battle that as far as I'm concerned is still on, so we'll have to wait all the way till the finish to see who wins that. And I think that's probably the big motivator for Jeremy also still, like if he can still get there, if he still make that 13th place, then it's a legendary result as far as I'm concerned. Okay, then we have the kind of a busy group here, a little bit to the behind, with of course Pip Hare in there. So Pip finally, with a bit more peaceful conditions, was able to climb the mast today.
I'm about to test my mast today to try and fix my wind instruments. I think this is about the best opportunity I'm going to have. Just see how it goes.
and actually fix the problem with with her wind speed meter, where she pretty much didn't have any relative wind speed anymore, and now she has it back again. So that's pretty nice. So she's, I guess, a bit more firmly in the race now, and putting everything on the line to maybe get back to that 15th position again. I mean, she's pretty even now again with Arno Bozeris and Aurora. She's a bit more to the west, of course, but as far as how north they are, they're not really that far behind each other. So we'll have to see how that will develop itself. But yeah, seems like there is still a real chance for them if they sail really good. So we'll have to wait and kind of see what happens. Then behind there we see that Kojiro Shirishi really found the speed. So from a considerable sandbag, he's been sailing excellent through all the systems, and now suddenly finds himself very close to Stéphane Dirigeant and Pip Hare. So that's really cool to see. And then behind there we have Dida Costa, who is also very close and sailing quite fast now in this group. They have good wind, so they're all speed-wise very close to each other, and yeah, they should be out of the most troublesome weather. So they're moving into the trades, and they should start to move a lot faster now. Then if we look at kind of the area above the Falklands, we see Miranda Marin here, Clement Gerard, and we have also still Manuel Cosin, and they're all taking a bit more, I would say a lot more of an eastern route. So they've all seen kind of the trouble that everybody got stuck in, and I think maybe a wise decision to just go a little bit more to the east and try to approach it that way and stay out of the chaos that has kind of been plaguing this coastal region. So we'll see how that progresses. But they should run into a little bit of bad weather, but it should move with them relatively okay. And yeah, they'll get stuck a little bit, but they should be able to move through there nicely. And then almost at the Cape now, Alexa Barrier and Ari Heusela. So yeah, we see that the weather became a little bit stronger than predicted. It looked like it was going to be a relatively smaller storm, but especially Alexia is already in it right now, and as it progresses we do see that it becomes fortunately a little bit lighter as they really pass the Cape. So they have some gusts, some moments, it seems to be quite a variable storm. So sometimes when it would be suddenly 40 knots, but then quickly dropping to 20 and not really under 20 knots. So not the full-on long time continuous super extreme weather, but they will have some few hours with some pretty intense wind, especially right as they're kind of nearing the Cape. You can see that they have a pretty big storm bearing down on them, but then as that gets to their position, it seems to lighten up a little bit, and so they themselves probably maybe only getting 20 to 25 knots, but could also easily suddenly shoot on to 45. So it'll be difficult passing for them strategically. Like, what do you do? Put you more sail up, or do you reef everything? It probably won't be the fastest passing, but as they are in the end of the fleet, I'm sure that they're more focused right now on just finishing the race. And so yeah, that is pretty much the analysis of what the race looks like today, and that's also the show for today. Almost forgot, because several of you asked about that. So the update on Isabel Jaschke, how is she doing? Is she safe? And yes, she is. As you guys can see, she is sailing right now kind of quite close to the coast of Brazil. So she's on her way, doing an okay speed in pretty stable weather right now, and making her way safely to the coast. So for all of you who were maybe a little bit worried about that, she is doing fine at the moment. So good news there. So thank you all very much for watching. Make sure to give the video a thumbs up, and for all the other info, go to seawolvestv.com, and I guess we'll see each other tomorrow to see how much closer we're getting to the finish, and if Gitana actually makes it back into the Jules Verne race. Have a nice evening. Ciao.